Hello there, folks. It's me, Michael Bach, your diversity dude, and it's time for another episode of Monday Morning Musings. And today, yet again, I want to talk about Bill 62. Now, I promise I will remain calm, thanks to some pretty heavy-duty meds. But I want to talk about the word secularism. So that word has been bantered around quite a bit because, of course, Quebec believes that they have a secular society, as does France, interestingly enough. But let's start with a definition of the word. So this is a definition of the word. It's a belief that rejects religion, or the belief that religion should not be a part of the affairs of the state or part of the public education. I agree with that. I agree with the concept of secularism. But in making the argument that Bill 162 creates a neutral state, that's not actually accurate. So just as a reminder, Bill 62 in Quebec requires or prohibits actually the giving or receiving of any sort of public service while wearing a face covering. And while the bill doesn't specifically talk about the Muslim face covering of the niqab or burqa, that's really what it's about. Because, of course, what other religion has any sort of face covering? So you can't work for the government in any sort of public service if you wear this, and you cannot receive service, meaning you can't go to a library, you can't ride a bus, go to a hospital, go to school, if you have any sort of face covering. And I think actually what they're doing is quite the opposite. They are forcing their belief onto people of a different faith. The idea of a completely secular society is a myth. It doesn't really exist. Because it suggests that we as people of faith leave our faith at home. And for a lot of us, faith is about more than just going to church on Sunday. It's about guiding our everyday actions. I do agree that the church or any religion or faith should not play a role in the governing of organizations, the governing of provinces, countries. But to suggest that your citizens have to do that they have to partake by a government standard of religious neutrality is just utter nonsense. Pauline Marois, the former premier of Quebec, who attempted to pass the famous Quebec Charter of Values, which was far more broad in its discrimination, was an atheist. And atheists, let's be clear, have a belief. They just don't believe that there's anything. They believe that there is no God. So it's not a belief in, it's not having a belief. It's just a particular belief. And they're welcome to that belief. But to suggest that citizens, in the name of religious neutrality, should not be able to access services is complete and utter nonsense. This bill, of course, is exploding in the public sphere, with a lot of people across the country completely outraged by it, and understandably so. If I can give one piece of advice to the Premier of Quebec, it would be to go back to the drawing board, scrap the current legislation, and fix this. It's very difficult to hear this message from a government that passed the legislation in a chamber where a crucifix hangs. That's called hypocrisy. Muslim women deserve the right and the respect if they choose to wear the niqab or the burqa, to be treated civilly, and to pass a piece of legislation which, quite frankly, affects less than a couple thousand people is nothing short of discrimination. Secularism is great in concept, but to force secularism on society is completely unacceptable. that's it for me. I hope you're having a fabulous week. I hope the days to come are wonderful for you. Please subscribe to my channel, which is somewhere in the ether here. And I will see you next week for another episode of Monday Morning Musings. Take care.